So I think any time that people are transitioning, especially business owners, whenever they find themselves into that wheel, that spinning wheel, say, I need to do something more because of that, we need to get more clients, because I think the energy is wrong. So if the energy is looking after yourself and reminding yourself the beautiful person that you are, the beautiful human being that you are, people will come because of you. People will be attracted to you because you are you. And that's exactly everything that happened to me throughout my career, throughout the YouTube channel, throughout this side of my life, where I said, it's me. It's not just about me, it's what I like and the energy I can give because it's me.
Welcome back to the Her First podcast. Today, we are talking all about how easy it is to lose your identity as a business owner. And we also have a very special guest that's going to help us with this conversation. I'd like to introduce former professional ballerina Alessia. She's the co-founder of Lazy Dancer Tips, a YouTube channel and multiple six-figure-a-year online business that teaches adult ballet from the comfort of your home. She's now growing her side of Profitable Talents, a coaching business with her husband Jacopo, in her unique way. She helps burned out online entrepreneurs to simplify their businesses and fuel their dream lifestyles. Welcome, Alessia.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to kick off our conversation with hearing a little bit about you and your experience losing your identity as a professional and as a business owner, and how that's affected your journey as an entrepreneur.
It's funny because you find me in a very, very interesting part of my life. I don't know if I saw it as a midlife crisis or if I saw it as a transition between businesses. As you introduced me, I'm the co-founder of two very different businesses, but they are very similar to one another. On one where I taught ballet online, and the other one where I'm coaching, I'm nowhere doing anything about ballet. But the good thing is that what I've learned throughout my 8 years of teaching ballet online and creating a multiple six-figure-a-year business give me all these tools and all the skills to be able to share with others and to let others know how to actually grow a profitable business. But when you transition into something that your husband wants to do, something that he started and he created, I found myself not knowing where I would fit in the specific business. So because Profitable Talents was his side, he was always on the back end. He was always the one, the techie person that set up everything for me, that learned how to build a funnel, how to learn about marketing. I was kind of always following while I was doing my thing in front of the camera. Once I had to jump in, I didn't know what to do anymore. I didn't know who I was more than anything else anymore. And I was so confused and so afraid of stepping into something that was uncomfortable, unknown, that I didn't even know who I was anymore. So that's why I'm so, it's a very beautiful part of my life where it's a little bit scary, and it's one of the most incredible discoveries that I've done and I've made so far right now.
It's so crazy how we get into these transition periods and we just can lose a part of who we are. We go through our lives with one brand, one identity, one thing that we do. And when things change up, all of a sudden it can be like the floor comes out from underneath you because we're just so caught up in what we do instead of who we are as a human being.
It's a very interesting way to see your life from where you are right now, because I don't know if you've noticed the name Lazy Dancer Lazy Dance Tips came from a very specific struggle. So, when you say you have this very strong identity. My whole life as a ballerina, as a ballet dancer, I've had these struggles, this way of pushing through. Lazy Dancer Tips was born from something I felt, right? So I didn't even really know what I was doing, but it's something that I felt. So Lazy Dancer Tips name came from, I'll tell you the story because I was in one of the latest contract reviews in one of the big ballet companies I worked for. And I walked into the meeting, and I felt so attacked because the director was having a bad day. Because imagine me not being secure of myself, always had this feeling of not being good enough because I was told I never had the perfect physique to be the ballerina, right? I didn't have the good feet, archy feet. I didn't have the nice bow legs, but somehow me being me, I kind of ignored all that and I kept pushing. But I felt vulnerable, almost like, see, they never really like me, but I'm going to try to do everything I can. Even if I got a job, if I was in the job and I wasn't there, I did everything I could. And I said yes to everything and to many things I shouldn't, to push my career and to push and to be the best I could be, the best of myself. And I remember in this contract review that as I said, the director was having a very bad day, and he kept putting me down, like things that I didn't do throughout the year, things that I didn't achieve. The fact that he didn't think I was pushing hard enough, that I wasn't staying at the studio for long enough, that I didn't fulfill what he asked the whole year round. And he said, you know what? I came back from London and the only thing I could think about was not to renew a contract. It was not to have you for next year. And then somehow I see you dancing here. There is something in me that says I should give you another chance. Mind you, I was there for like 5 years already. I was so stunned by the fact that you said, you never told me this before. And also you don't see me as a human being, but you see me as a number. And so the only thing that you see is things that I didn't do rather than everything else that I have achieved so far. And the fact that I jumped into roles that I was never being rehearsed for. The fact that I saved so many shows and so many roles because everyone else was injured, but Alessia could do it anyway. So we just chucked her on stage and did it. And I was never acknowledged for that. But the only thing that it could say was, I think you're lazy, you're not doing enough, and you're just a lazy dancer. You're not going to achieve anything in your life. And so at that point I went, okay, I don't think I'm a lazy dancer, and I don't think I am that useless in everything that I've done, because despite the fact that I didn't have all the box ticked to be a professional ballerina, here I am. I'm still on stage and dancing on big stages. And I said, okay. So I took that in, and somehow I went, okay, let me know if you're going to renew my contract or not, because I really need to sort out my life from now on. And I'm not going to wait for you to kind of have a better day. And there I left. I think I walked out of that room, burst into tears, because I had that tension of having to please everyone and still being strong and standing my ground, that I didn't know where my emotions were coming from. And so I just left. And I think the day after, I wrote my resignation letter. It's not okay for people to just treat you like this. And so I got my contract renewed, by the way. I signed it. I put it on the side. And then on the few weeks later, I handed in my resignation letter, because I said, if I'm going to go on my terms, not because someone has decided that I should go. And so when we created, when Jacopo had this crazy idea, because again, I think like is my life just kind of going up and down, having this crisis. I find myself like making decision in crisis. And so we are in London and we leave. So we decide to go, leave New Zealand, and we come over to London. And I thought, well, with the curriculum that I find myself with, I've got everything under my belt. I've got so many shows under my belt. I've got everything. It's not going to be hard for me to find a job. And I couldn't find someone at auditions that would hire me. I couldn't find people that would even give me classes to teach in between auditions. It was the hardest thing I had to do. And also I got told, you don't have the experience to teach. So we're not going to offer you a teaching role, even if have done everything that you've done. You might have been doing outreach programs and taught kids or everything. But we don't see you. We're not going to pay for that. And we're not going to have you as a part of the staff. And this was for many schools out there. And I went, am I really is that my story, that I never have what it takes? And so after I started crying in the middle of London, bursting into tears, and Jacopo looked at me and was like, I can't see you like this anymore. It's not you. It just doesn't make any sense that you are not valued for what you have, because you are an incredible human being. Why don't we do something different? Hiring a studio in London is silly and it's expensive, and plus no one is hiring you. So why don't you do your own thing and you do it online? And I said, okay, it's the stupidest idea you ever had, and I really like it, because then I'm going to do my own thing and actually push it. And the funny thing is, I don't know how to call it. And so I decided to call it Lazy Dancer Tips, because that was a reminder for me and for everyone out there that has doubted everything that I actually done in my life and in my career, that look at what a lazy dancer can do. I'm going to grow this channel, and I'm going to make sure that everyone out there has got a space and a place where they can be themselves. And so for 8 years, we grew this YouTube channel, and we had people coming in, and we had a membership, and people love it. So for me, that was my world. It was my way to be. And I knew myself. This is why the whole identity things, I knew myself as the leader of that specific thing, of that specific journey, the ballerina that turned the ballet world upside down and that created something totally different. Because I am the rebel of the ballet world, and there is no one else that has done it. So this is what I liked. This is who I was. And this is who I found myself to be, until I stopped doing what I was doing, which is this new chapter of my life. And everything went, I don't know who I am anymore. I'm not the ballerina. I'm not the ballet teacher.
What a beautiful story. There's such an evolution and journey that you went through, being in that place. And sometimes those things that take us for the most interesting turn of events, right? Like we had this unexpected experience with the company that you're working for at the time, and it pushed you towards a different direction. At first, we feel those sensations as a sense of distress, sadness. We didn't measure up to the experience. This is something that we've been doing for this amount of time, and now we're not going to. It's change. What's coming next? It builds up in us these feelings of doubt, of insecurity, of unsureness, when really it can be a host of opportunities, push you in this different direction, move you to an entirely different country, to a different place, open up doors and opportunities. And I was just listening to a founder conversation around this, is this idea of failure and going to the studios, asking, can I work for you? Can I bring in my expertise? I have this experience. I would love to be a part of this, and getting failure after failure, rejection after rejection. But it simply pushed you to what you were able to blossom in, this online space, this personal brand, this building of this multi-six-figure business through YouTube and your online channels. I'm sure if you looked back on it, would say, I couldn't imagine my life being any different. So often as you're listening, we have these experiences that feel disheartening, that feel like failure, that feel like rejection, that feel full of sadness or despair in some way. But really, it's just navigating the path of life, and it doesn't have to be a good or bad situation. And you can acknowledge and identify those opportunities for what they are, and have you take it to the next step or a different path, or go through a different door, out the window, whatever that looks like for you as you're journeying through this. And it's harder, of course, to recognize those things as you're going through them. But simple reminders as you practice that is that that's a part of the process. That's a part of the business journey. That's a part of entrepreneurship and being a founder and being a startup. Part of your story is really understanding, who you are, having that be really important to building the brand that you're creating. Can you speak more to understanding yourself, seeing yourself as this rebel, and being able to express that in your brand and in your identity in the online space?
Understanding yourself, I think it comes from, as you said, the failure, and exploring and being open to every opportunity that comes into your life. The funny thing is that the universe will tell you exactly what doors to take and what doors you shouldn't be taking. And it's almost like it's already there. It's almost like if you're asking for it, the universe will give you exactly the answers that you're looking for. So finding yourself not knowing who you are and what you are. The funny thing is, when there was this transition, there was an episode that happened to me when we were at this Kajabi Hero Live, which is this massive conference for this software that we use for our business. And so imagine walking into this room full of hundreds of online entrepreneurs that in a way they do speak your language, so that you know exactly what you're doing and who you're what you're doing online, which I call it sometimes it's such a lonely world, but when you go to these conferences you feel like part of the family. And imagine when people come to you and they say, so who are you and what do you do? What is your business? And because I was in such a transition, like I was in this transition and said, I didn't know how to explain it. It's like, how do I explain to you that I'm just me? How do I explain what I'm doing now when I don't know what I'm doing? You know, I'm helping others, but I don't know what I'm doing because I'm transitioning from what Lazy Dancer Tips was. Now we're not doing any more videos online. We're not doing, and the business Lazy Dancer Tips is just running by itself. And I'm transitioning into this. Is like, I don't know where I fit in. I don't know who I am. And I feel so lost because I know everything. I know how to run a business. I know exactly what I've learned throughout even the story that I've taught you, like the story of grit, the story of how to just pick up yourself and push forward for the next chapter, how to create content online. But what I forgot, there was a moment when I said, I'm so used to do everything that I have not stopped. For 8.5 years, we built and we ramped up and we were constantly busy. That the moment that I stopped, I didn't know who I was anymore. There was a time where, imagine, so we are at this dinner with friends, and at one point I just burst into this. I burst into cries a lot. Like I think I get to a point where I'm just so overwhelmed with everything that I just burst into tears, and I went, I know all these things and I know everything, but I don't know what I'm doing. I felt so without identity. I felt that I didn't have a place into this new chapter of my life. And a friend of mine just stopped and went, it seems to me that you have forgotten one very simple thing. Because you've been so caught up with doing all your life, you forgot to be and just be a human being. And I think that was the moment where I switched. It was a very interesting switch because I stopped crying because I was, in front of this beautiful meal, like very expensive meal. And I said, I'm not enjoying this and I should be enjoying this. And I stopped, and there was a moment where I went, you know what? You're right. The fact that I have not only I built this career, I never stopped in front of anyone saying no. I constantly looked at what I could do, and I constantly looked at who I was because I knew I could bring in every place that I was hired or I went to school to, or I was the crazy person, the crazy Italian, even if some people didn't like that I was a crazy Italian, they told me, oh, you're too Italian. It's like, well, this is me. This is how it is. Every time I did something, I did it because I did it my way, and I did me. So I stopped and I went, you know what? You're right. I forgot to be a human being. And the fact that Lazy Dancer Tips was so successful, it wasn't just about the funnel that we built or the content that was created in a specific way because you had to be, intro and then do the thing and then the CTA. But it was all about the way I felt, and I created content because I liked it, because I wanted to do it in a certain way, because it was me, and people came to the channel because of me. So I think anytime that people are transitioning, especially business owners, whenever they find themselves into that wheel, that spinning wheel, say, I need to do something more because of that, we need to get more clients, because I think the energy is wrong. So if the energy is looking after yourself and reminding yourself the beautiful person that you are, the beautiful human being that you are, people will come because of you. People will be attracted to you because you are you. And that's exactly everything that happened to me throughout my career, throughout the YouTube channel, throughout this side of my life, where I said, it's me. It's not just about me, it's what I like and the energy I can give because it's me. Every time I see people, every time I see humans, I see them as musical notes. This is something that I love. I see every single person in this world as a musical note. And as a musical note, they resonate. They have a specific sound. And they resonate and they vibrate in the world in a specific way. And there is always going to be people that vibrate more or less at the same tone as you, and there is others that won't. So that attraction, that fact of being will attract people that resonate exactly the way you do. It's about being yourself, and it's about vibrating at that frequency, which you don't have to try to find. It's just you. And people will come because they enjoy that without you even trying. So it's all about, don't try to be someone you're not. Just be yourself and do things that you enjoy and that you like. Talk the way you want to talk, and people will resonate in that specific sound and that specific vibration.
Such a good illustration. And I think being an entrepreneur, and especially being an entrepreneur when you're a coach, you're a creator, when so much of what you offer is like your expertise, what's in your mind, your strategy, can be really, really challenging. And one thing I see I've been subject to, and I've seen a lot of my clients be subject to, is this idea of wanting to copy another successful entrepreneur. Maybe they do content creation tips and they go, okay, let me see what Justin Welsh is doing and copy what he's doing. And not saying we can't learn a lot from really, really great people, but it's often our uniqueness. And in that way, sometimes like maybe even our weaknesses that are what make us strong. Like what I love about your story, right? Someone called you a lazy dancer and you turned that into, an empire, right? You turn that into an entire business. This idea is like, you say I'm lazy. Well, I'm going to make what you think is my weakness my strength. And sometimes those little idiosyncrasies are what attract people to us. I know I can be a very direct person, and I used to kind of hide that in discovery calls. And I used to just kind of try to appease, like, I'm going to love whatever you do and all of that. But now in discovery calls, when I see people wanting to have me do something for them that I don't think is successful, I tell them on the discovery call, because my theory is, well, if they didn't like that I said that and don't want to work with me because I said that, good. Because I need to be able to give my clients good advice, and I need to be able to share my opinions with them. So if they want a yes person, I'm not the right person. And that's okay. And I'm sure I lose clients over it. Like, I'm sure I get on a call and someone was like, my biggest thing is I don't believe in building a 20-page website if you don't have an email list yet. Like, that's a big passion of mine. Is like, you have to start building an audience, building an email list. Like, I won't build a whole website for someone if they don't have either like a social audience or an email list. And I'm sure some people are like, what? That's weird. And then go find someone to build their website. But I'm okay with that, right? Because I want to help people be successful in the way they should. And if they don't like my directness, well, they can move on. And I think it's important as entrepreneurs to actually really get who we are outside of what we do. What are our non-negotiables? What do we like? What do we enjoy? What's our personality? Like, what kind of people do we vibe with? Actually getting to that outside of, oh, I build websites, or, oh, I do marketing, or, oh, I'm a dancer. Like, who are you at your core outside of actions, I think is so important, especially because there's so many entrepreneurs in the world. And we have historically, a lot of entrepreneurs just meet a very specific role. A lot of them are men. A lot of them are very buy on their social, right? And if we say, okay, that's what an entrepreneur is, and we count ourselves out of that list because we don't meet those criteria that we see online, the world's going to miss a lot of really great, innovative entrepreneurs. And great innovation comes when all kinds of minds, right? All kinds of minds come together, and you don't want to rule yourself out because you don't feel like you fit that mold.
I love how you say about, the people and the way and the lifestyle. And I think you said something very specific, which I love. The fact of finding your identity is also finding your boundaries and your standards. I think this is my favorite thing at the moment. When you first create a business, whenever you are, so let's put it this way, you are a little bit insecure because you don't know if people are going to like it or if you're going to get a response. So instead of thinking about you first, you always think about others first, which is okay. It's natural. It's the way of a business because you are solving a problem. So whenever you said, you create your empire, but something that we forgot, and I think a lot of people forget to do at the very beginning, whenever curating your business, with that identity, your boundaries with people, your standards, your lifestyle is always put on a side. Have you ever had those times where you get on a call with a client and you just say yes because you need to start or you need to feel? So it's almost like your identity goes out of the window. You forget who you are, and also you stop loving yourself. In a way, you stop loving yourself, and you just become this mat, like this doormat because you want things to work, and so you forget about who you are. You forget about why you started something. You forget about the fact that you should be in first place, the one that it gives the standards. Like, this is who I am. This is how I work. This is how I do things. This is how many times you can call me. No, I don't want to work with you. This is a hard one to say. No, like the word no, it's a very hard thing. But when you create that lifestyle, when you have that lifestyle in your mind, where you want to work, where you want to open your business, where you want to live, which is a very hard question to ask yourself. Then the next step is, okay, if I want that kind of lifestyle, this is the boundaries and the standards I want for people whenever they call me up, whenever they want to work with me, whenever I decide to put my business into place. When I started looking at my life in that specific way, everything kind of started taking place, started unfolding. So when I was saying before, I was so worried about doing and that I forgot of being, everything else was forgotten. It was forgotten, the lifestyle. And this is why I went to Jacopo and I said, so we've created a business to give us a lifestyle, but now we are so stuck into creating the content, and we have a living room that is a TV room more than anything else, with cameras and lights and everything. And when I have people that come over, I'm embarrassed because I don't know where to sit them. When you feel embarrassed about your identity, when you feel embarrassed about having people coming over and not being able to sit on a couch, when you forget about putting those boundaries together for people to call you or your clients to call you, that is like the bell that says, I don't think you're doing this right. And I think there is something in there that is not quite working. What I started working on straight in was lifestyle first, then enjoy your life, enjoy who you are, share with the world who you are and what you like. Find that musical note that you resonate with, like you are that musical note, and then build that business or your side. Like at this point is my side of the business, because it's not just mine, is co-founding. But because before we had very defined roles, now we don't anymore. I said, I'm going to create my side of this business my way, because I resonate and I tinkle, no, not tinkle, twinkle in the specific. It's a very different word. It comes out, I twinkle in a very different way.
We forget that. We forget that we're the ones in charge. I just attended a business conference in Phoenix. It's Business by Design Live with James Wedmore. It's been a mastermind program that I've been a part of and a larger community. It's a lot about digital marketing, but also about spirituality and uncovering who you are and yourself and showing up in that way. We forget as personal brands so often that we have a magnetism to exactly who we are as unique individuals. And there are a lot of businesses out there that offer maybe similar services, different types of products and programs that may be in alignment with what it is that you do. But what is going to differentiate you in the market is your energy as a personal brand, and especially in the online space. And so often we get caught up in the doing. This was a common conversation and theme of the keynotes and the conversations that were being had at the event, was that we spend a lot of time with the structure, the strategy, the steps, especially when we're in the online space as coaches, creators, service providers. What does it look like in order to actually get content out? What does it look like to be able to fulfill on the service? What does it look like for your software, your emails, your programs, your content creation? But you can do a lot without actually being in the energy of presence and value and having this exchange between your audience or between your customer and what you're there to do and how you're there to serve. Because oftentimes, so much of what we do is almost under the surface, right? You have a physical product. I have a physical product business. It's a spirit alternative. I can put that spirit alternative forward and say, this is it. You can use it in this way. But so much of what we offer, especially when you transition or pivot into coaching, is intangible. The experience that someone's going to have based on the fulfillment, the joy, the groundedness, the sense of relief that comes with understanding how they're showing up in their business, how they're showing up in their world, and what they're going to get out of it from a personal growth standpoint or from a business perspective, sometimes is really intangible, and it can be hard to describe. It can be hard to connect with. And so as we're marketing, as we're showing up in that way, as we're talking to people and getting them to invest in us or just pay attention, tune in, opt in, follow, we forget that that unique differentiating factor is not the surface level. It's not the how many pages you're going to get, how many videos come with it, how many coaching sessions. It's the experience. It's the benefit. It's the feeling that they're going to have. It's the results that they're going to see in their life as a part of what we're doing with them. We get lost in that traction of doing. We get lost in the strategy. We get lost in, oh, this is what worked for someone else. I'm going to follow their step-by-step system, when I'm forgetting who I am at my core. And there is a lot of pressure. There is a lot of expectation from your clients, from the outside world, even from your audience, in what they want to see with your content. And you can so easily slip into the mode of simply responding to what it is that people want in the world without really first identifying and acknowledging what you want. So tuning into who you are is such an important part of that process. So as we kind of start to head towards wrapping up this conversation, I'd like to finish kind of around the idea and concept of magnetism. How do you find this connection with who you are? You are yourself walking around your world. You feel good, maybe even in person. I've heard this a lot from especially digital business owners. I'm great in person. I have great conversations. I have such great connection. I love, what I do and who I am. But then I get in front of a camera. I show up in front of my audience. I'm on a webinar and I freeze up. I don't know how to connect in that same way. I don't know how to be me. I don't know how to enjoy who I am and share that with the world in the digital space. Can you share a little bit about how you've been able to do that through your brand and how you would help someone do that for themselves?
There is a very interesting thing that happened to me. I was exactly the same. I was exactly so worried about how I would look on camera. Still got this videos back at that I started doing with my iPad, because I was never really good in front of a camera. I would freeze and I couldn't say anything. So everything was scripted, or like I tried to put bullet points down, but I felt so robotic. It didn't feel quite right until the day that I received the first comment, the first message, and it said, "You've changed my life. You've done so much for me." It just changed and turned into a face, someone outside on the other side. So someone I needed to be the leader for. Like I needed to just put my Wonder Woman cape on and just say, I'm there for that person. So whenever I was talking to a camera, I wasn't talking to a camera. I was talking to that person. And then that person became two people that sent me a message. I saw them. But I think one of the most important thing is that if you're going to talk in front of the camera or even have a live webinar, first of all, you need to do something that you like, that you feel comfortable with. If it is picking up your phone and going on an Instagram live, do an Instagram live. If you feel that you are more comfortable into something pre-recorded, do something pre-recorded. As long as people get to know you, they need to fall in love with you, because there is only one person like you that is going to talk in a specific way, and it's you, only you. Whenever you go into explaining, into teaching, into sharing something about your life or what you do and how you do it, I think the most important thing is forget about the sale, forget about the CTA, forget about, the whole, oh, I should do a webinar that goes like this, and then I have to do the pitch at the end. And I think that is such a bro marketing thing. And I said, it never resonated with me. I never liked it. I said, why don't we just do a nice workshop? We make them pay at the beginning, but we just free to share everything that we do. It's just like a normal class, and we do it. My experience is just do something that you like, that you like sharing, and that feels right with you. Because maybe you're doing a specific webinar or a specific class online in such a different, unique way that people will want to learn your method. It's like, what's your method? I don't know. I've always done it this way. It has to come from your gut. It has to come from deep right here that says, this feels right. And whenever someone tells you that you should be doing something in a specific way, just go, if it feels right, Joanna was saying before, is like, it's worth giving it a shot, because it might be something that you learn and you go, actually, that works. It feels right. It gives me more structure. But if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Find your own way and try and test it and practice and be as consistent as possible until it becomes second nature. Until you find someone that shares that comment and says, thank you for changing my life, or thank you for giving me that tip. That will also change your perspective on how you see the camera. The camera is not a camera, it's just someone out there waiting for you to just say something to them and make them get out into the world and maybe start their business, or maybe, scale, or maybe just make them feel more comfortable and confident.
Thank you so much for sharing that wisdom with us. I think it's so easy to feel lost, feel like we have to show up a certain way, do things a certain way, follow a specific formula. But as entrepreneurs, part of the whole point is to be able to do things that connect with us, that feel right to us, that feel good, right? We don't have a boss. We don't have to do things the way someone tells us to. And we can actually do things that feel right to us and are good for our businesses. And really putting your identity, putting that uniqueness of you into your business is what's going to draw people to you and help you find the right people to work with you and the right people to serve. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate your time, your input, your effort. If our listeners want to connect with you more closely and keep up with what's going on with you and your businesses, how can they find you?
You can find us on YouTube, Profitable Talents. Everything is Profitable Talents, or directly on Facebook and Instagram with me if you want to come and say hello and send me a nice message to Alessia Lupoboni. And just come and say, hello, wonderful human being. And we're just going to start a chat, because I like chatting to people.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed our conversation today, go ahead and hit subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode.